You've got mail.
Okay, call a meeting to order. We have claims and these UMAC bills, old bills.
They're in there, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You'll look and see. Trying to think what they were for. I write it on the blue copy and then they got the invoice attached. And they're in order. I've still got a big one over there. The water leak may be over at the park. And he built his fine.
This is from March.
I know, he just built it. Well, was it July or August? I waited to pay him. Because I had to talk to him first about it,
Yeah.
found out what they were, and I kind of held him off.
Change meter 135 North Main.
That's page rates. Which that, from previously,
Yeah.
but they're supposed to change the other day, but I don't have the new numbers yet.
We have the new meter, so.
I think so, because he told me he was going to do it. But I'm not sure. Because I didn't wait and ask. If I didn't see it by the time I read him Friday, I was going to call and ask him. Because I thought he said he was going to do that when he fixed that leak up at Miller's last week.
Well, we've had a delivery of meter pits because they're stacked in there, the building right off your office now, so.
A meter pit?
No, not meter pits, but the actual structure
Because he
with
was,
the
yeah.
risers.
Well, I got a bill that I was going to call and ask him about because he told me he's going to order all the parts for Ingalls out there, putting all that in. So I was going to ask him if they accidentally billed me because I told him I was getting one bill from him for all of them.
Right.
So I was going to ask him if that was accidentally billed to me because, or if that was actually mine because I didn't know what it was for. It was mine.
I just had gone in there, I took that hose over there, and that's how I saw that they had moved in a bunch of structures, meter structures.
Like he would have.
Well, I think we were low on them, so I think he just,
On the risers?
the meter pit itself,
Oh, okay. Might
and
be.
then the risers.
But he knew that I was kind of watching my dollars, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Unless those were moved from somewhere else in the building.
because I was gonna get I tried to get everything ready for tonight, and then I thought I'd try to get a hold of you Friday and go over all that stuff.
Okay.
I've got to work tomorrow, and I'll be gone all day Thursday.
So Tom?
You doing, Larry?
Good. Yeah.
Great.
And on there, that PACE, Brookside that we've dealt with before on all of our yearly lead and GHA, and whatever the stuff is, they aren't licensed doing the N anymore, so I had to find a new one.
Okay.
So Tom referred me to them, and that's who Rockville uses, and so.
I was thinking you said something about that last meeting.
We talked about it, you and I, somewhere along the way.
Sometime, that's what I was thinking.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm just waiting for those results to come back.
Claims for the town marshal was $10,353.20 were that were approved. Claims for the water department, $9,527.37. That's pretty high for the water, isn't it? For one of them. There was one large bill there.
Can you do those numbers again?
Well, the water. and the
10,000 what?
$10,353.20.
Well, we had those $3,000 to UMAC.
Okay.
We
That's-
normally have.
That's, yeah.
And the water department was $9,527.37.
Other than that, nothing really.
Yeah, that UMac sent you, that kind of made it look high, because he sent you that late bill, I think.
Yeah, all these are late, yeah. I still got another one over there, haven't paid yet. So I'm holding off on it. Because he said he doesn't care.
Okay. Old business. I talked to you last meeting about the fence at the park. It's part of that community foundation grant. They're supposed to do that this month. I don't know the date yet. What I was wanting to get your thoughts on is adding a gate somewhere in that fence, especially off of that alley or lane that would allow us to get into playground equipment without going all the way around and driving through.
It'd be probably good for a safety if something happens and
Yeah.
somebody has to come in real quick if somebody gets hurt.
So I don't have a cost on that, but I thought we would need to do that. Does it meet with your approval for me to go ahead and get that added to that?
Yeah.
It is a grant eligible item for that. And I will be meeting with that company prior to them and starting installation of that, especially due to the fact we added that brand new main going down North Center Street there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want them getting into that.
No.
Last month, we were given an ordinance, a health and environmental regulation ordinance. And I've read through it, and I don't know if everybody's had a chance to go through it. Do you want to expand on it, or what's your thoughts about it?
So the two new ordinances I gave you, one's a revised copy. It's real similar to the copy I showed you on the health and environmental regulations,
Okay.
but it's revised and addresses more head-on what I think our issues here in the town of Marshall are.
Okay.
So that would be in replacement of the prior ordinance.
I wondered about that when I...
And then the other ordinance I've given you, it was in regards to the discharge of firearms in the town of Marshall, which was something we previously talked about, but you guys hadn't seen a copy of the ordinance yet.
Okay.
So I proposed that the new ordinance replace the prior ordinance that I'd shown you. As far as the grass clippings and as well as the maintenance of grass in the town of Marshall.
Okay.
So it's more so what the new one's tailored towards. Obviously, either version's fine, but I've kind of tweaked and narrowed it down a little bit language-wise on the newer version.
Okay. Item 3, that a partial will be judged in non-compliance in the requirements of between the street and the sidewalk.
Sure.
That I like that. I want to make sure we're all okay on that. Okay.
That's based off of other ordinances that I've researched where they've done that in other communities.
Okay.
So as far as being challenged on that, I would assume since they haven't amended those, that those haven't been overturned. So,
Okay.
but
Yeah, the property owner that was in, I don't know, it was last meeting or meeting before, concerned about the weeds along the road in the ditch area. I did go down with the town tractor, cleaned all that up, knocked everything down. The ditch is deep enough you couldn't get a mower down through it, but as of right now, nothing has been done after I cleaned that up, so we're right back to where we were.
okay. So that confronts on the property or between the sidewalk and the curb or the street. If we get into, our town's unique compared to other communities as far as we have a more rural setting on the outskirts of town than they do. So it may not directly hit the ditch area necessarily with that ordinance.
Okay.
I guess it depends on what the legal description of the property is. If that's actually on the property, then that's going to apply to it. But if it's somehow not attached to that property, it's beside it or something of that nature. And I haven't been down there to look at it, so I don't know where it falls in relations to the actual yard or not. But I can go down there when I leave today and take a look
Yeah,
at it.
it's actually, part of the yard as it extends out to the edge of the road.
Oh, okay. Well, so that's going to apply to that then.
Okay,
So that would require them to maintain it.
good. What's our next step as we look through this? And then,
So usually what we'll do is we'll read the ordinance once, and then at the next meeting it can be approved. But I did set that one up for same day, same meeting. You have the option to do that also. And since we've been discussing that particular one for a while now, you have the option of voting on it today if you like to.
okay,
Same with the discharge of firearms. Since we've previously discussed it in a meeting, I set it up for same day, same meeting approval. Then we have to publish it, and then 30 days from the date we publish it, it becomes effective.
And do you have an extra copy of that firearm?
I do. Well, I can steal his.
Still
anyway.
Larry's?
That's all right. He's read it. I saw him. And it's based off of some other communities also, but I did encompass in it, and we hadn't talked about this yet as far as their firearms at the ballpark or the park in town here, we're allowed to, the town council is allowed to make restrictions on that on town property. Other communities don't allow firearms at their ballparks. So I included that in there for your consideration because that's typical of most small towns, I would say. But that by no means has to be in there. That's up to you guys as a council to determine whether you want that language or not. I know Rockville has it in theirs. And I think Perrysville also does, but I don't know who else. Those are the two I was looking at. But the main crux of that was discharging of firearms in town, even if you're doing target practice or you're doing, shooting a game or just anything of that nature is prohibited inside town limits based on that ordinance.
So if you have a groundhog, you can't shoot it?
You shouldn't, no.
To your neighbor.
But obviously, Marshal Ramey has discretion on, just like on Indiana code, he has discretion on when he applies it and when he doesn't apply it. Officers have that burden on them, is that when they do come out on a call, it's their discretion on whether or not they think there's a violation or a crime. So, just because we have an ordinance doesn't mean every single situation is the same.
Okay.
Obviously, if you're defending your home or you're defending yourself or something on that situation, you're defending your property, Indiana law trumps our ordinances. So if they're in conflict, the Indiana code wins, not our ordinance.
Okay.
We had that issue at Rockville where there's a dog issue and somebody shot a dog in defense of their dog and it became an issue. But anything we do is second seat to Indiana code. So
I do have a question on the shooting, exploding firecracker, or throwing fireballs.
sure.
Is that prohibiting all fireworks or just a little?
Yeah. I may give you the wrong thing. Yeah, I didn't mean to give you that. Sorry about that. That was one that I was using as a template.
Okay, gotcha.
That's the one I
You
proposed.
didn't know what I got now.
Yeah, I don't
He was
remember
targeting
anything
me.
like that.
I was just testing you.
You didn't look at your stuff.
Obviously, if you're interested in a firework ordinance, I can do that. But that
Sucker
wasn't
you
my
into
intention.
cell 3.
Okay.
That was a different community's ordinance that I was looking at.
All right. Does the board have questions, concerns on either one of these ordinances? Does it meet our needs?
I think the firearm thing ought to be universal to the town. I don't think it should change. I think it should be the same all over in the boundaries. Am I not looking at that right?
So what that one does is it prevents you from discharging one within the town, but it doesn't prevent you from carrying one within the town. It only prevents you from carrying one at the ballpark.
Right.
That's what that ordinance does. So, I mean, and where we run into issue as far as prohibition on firearms is the Indiana law allows you to conceal carry. So we can permit it on the town's property, but within town limits, we would be in conflict with Indiana's concealed carry law.
Right.
So that's the distinction I would draw in that ordinance is it's not prohibiting carrying in town, it's just prohibiting it at the ballpark or on the town's property. Because we can do that.
Yeah.
And is that most likely a reaction to issues that's happened from ball games and those kinds of?
That's what communities typically do that for is people get heated, it's Little League or it's whatever, but then you have a confrontation and, that's what the intent, I think, is designed to stop that situation from happening. And sometimes you get domestic situations at the ballpark too, Unfortunately, our society is in a place where, not all marriages or relationships last and they can get heated. And ballpark's an area where you know where the other person's going to be.
Exchange it. 'Cause
Right.
It's public area.
Right. So that's another reason for that in the ordinance, I would say.
Jeff, you have any questions or concerns?
I don't, the only thing is, I hate to do a case-by-case basis. On the point is if somebody discharges a firearm in town and kills a varmint, something that's destroying their property, but yet the neighbor has a problem with that. So then I cite that person because the neighbor had a problem with it, but then on the north side of town, none of the neighbors have a problem with it. So that's the only thing in the, like we said, the rule setting of Marshal. I think we need to have something in order, but it's almost where I would like to present the case to you guys, write something up and let you guys determine if you want to proceed with it more or not.
And that's a path we could take. Some communities do that where it comes before the council before any type of violation would be filed with the court system. So that's always something we can consider as well.
There's usually a checks and balance system on any criminal case that the prosecutor reviews on certain circumstances, where I might feel that a crime's not been committed, but yet he does. So that person is told that a report will be sent to the prosecutor. If he determines that a crime has been committed, there's several different actions that he can take. So on one that I think is not a problem, some of the neighbors or you guys might think is a problem and needs addressed. So something where, obviously, if they're reckless with it, they're doing something that state statute comes in with criminal recklessness and different things. But for a discharge on a varmint where there's no crime been committed other than they discharge that firearm because that varmint was going under their house and tearing stuff up, do we have a problem there? I think you guys should be kind of involved in that also.
Well, that's my only concern, because, like you said, the way the town is laid out,
Correct.
Everybody's house, there's a lot of homes that are backed up to fields.
Yes.
Right. And then the concern, as stated in the preamble or whatever, is that once you get inside here, there's like 10 feet between the houses, basically.
Right.
So if you're discharging a firearm in the interior part of town, that's a more substantial risk than if you're facing a cornfield, I would say. But any ordinance violation can be brought before the council before any action's taken on it, if that's what the council would like. Some communities you get into it where there's so many violations that, practically speaking, it's hard to do that. But with our population here in town, that might be something the council could easily look at before going the legal process on it. To date, everything we've done since I became the attorney's kind of ran through the council anyway. It's been ongoing issues that you had prior to me getting here. And so, functionally, we've kind of been doing that anyway.
Yes.
I think there's potential violations that are a no-brainer.
You're absolutely correct.
You go ahead and take care of, and I think if there's some gray area, then I wouldn't be opposed to us hearing that.
Okay, and that's fine with me. I just wanted to let you guys know that we do have different circumstances on that situation.
What is a firearm as it's, is a pellet gun a firearm? Is a BB gun a firearm? What is a firearm as a state statute?
Usually the firearm is something that actually is expelled with energy by some sort of explosive.
Okay.
So I guess if you really wanted to get technical, a pellet gun could if it's CO2. But I think good officer judgment in that case. To the point if somebody's pointing a gun at me, whether it's a pellet gun and I can't tell, that's a totally different story than somebody discharging a pellet gun and shooting the target or something else in town.
So what Officer Ramey had just indicated was the first section of that where it indicates expel a projectile or by the action of explosion. Springs, expansion of gas, air, or escape of gas, air. So in theory that could be like an airsoft gun or things like that also is prohibited in town based on that ordinance. Now obviously these are up to the board as far as what they'd like in there. I was just trying to give you a template to work off of.
Okay.
So everything's covered if you need to have it.
If you want it covered, it's in there. It'd cover airsoft guns, paintball guns. I'm not up on all the different types of toy guns and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's those little plastic pellet guns. I don't know what they're called, but anything that's projected at a high rate of speed basically gives us the ability to regulate it.
There's some pretty good air guns.
Yeah.
The only thing I see is adding, like you said, adding something for the park, no guns.
Yeah.
That would be.
It is in there with the
It is
number
part of our
two.
playground
yeah.
owned by the, yeah, there it is.
Okay. And it excludes law enforcement officers operating in their official capacity. So you have the option of voting on it today if you like, or you could table it till your next meeting to vote on it too. I haven't set it up for a vote today, but if there's changes needed or you guys want to deliberate on it for a little while, you have the option to do that also.
Well, let's look specifically at the firearm ordinance and see if we want to move on the other table it. Get your thoughts on that. I know one concern that I've heard from the person that there was a complaint on was, where's the town limit? As you said, we back up on fields, and some of the town limits are actually in the field.
And I guess what I would say is it'd be difficult to lay out the perimeters of the town in an ordinance. I think that would come down to Officer Ramey's discretion. You know, if he's in the middle of a field shooting a firearm versus in town, I think that's probably something easier for Jeff to be able to.
That was the argument.
Yeah.
We're on the field, but it's potentially still in town.
Right. And that's not an easy job. I mean, you see all this stuff on law enforcement, but when they come out on a scene, there's a lot of discretion there on what do I think happened? Do I think this is dangerous? Do I not think it's dangerous? And they're probably the better person to have that judgment than I would be sitting there drafting the ordinance.
Are you talking about going behind your barn 2 foot out of town and shooting as long as you want to?
No, I'm really talking about that 10 feet behind the barn is still in town limits, but it's part of a cornfield. You know,
Okay. Well, I think it would, if I were a neighbor and I had someone going out 10 feet behind the barn and shooting every night, I'd probably get perturbed sooner or later.
Right.
Could you throw a noise ordinance or something?
Well, we do have a noise
Settle that
ordinance.
down? Okay.
But I kind of look at it too, though. I mean, if they own the property and it's out of town property, how do you?
It's going to be based on time of day and things of that nature, more so with the noise ordinance as compared to the fact that they're actually doing it. I don't have it in front of me, but most of those ordinances are based on time of day restrictions and then their proximity to the other person and where they're doing it at. And I assume our ordinance would probably have that same language in it, but I don't recall off the top of my head what it says specifically.
any other discussion on this? Entertain a motion if you want to proceed with it tonight.
I'll make a motion that we pass the gun ordinance thing this evening.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll bring a second.
Do you wanna talk about it?
No, I think, like Jeff said, I mean, I feel comfortable that, you know, if there is a complaint, it needs to be investigated regardless.
Yes, I agree.
It does. And then, like you said, he can end up and use his judgment on what is, like you said, time of day, what's going on.
Well, and then if he gets an area where, you know, his judgment's being called into question, they always have the option to come before the council before we
Right.
proceed on anything.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded for ordinance number 2020 what number you want to give it, 3?
I think it's probably 3. I don't recall what.
2 was on this other one.
Yeah, so it'd be 3 then.
3. Any other discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's go on to the second ordinance, which was a rewrite of the health and environmental regulation ordinance. Public nuisance and property upkeep, that would be ordinance 2020-2 if we follow through with that. Or do you have questions on this, or do you have a chance to read it? Have you read it? Jeff?
I agree. I know we went over the other one. I think there was maybe a change or two, or was it still the same?
It basically merged in a couple of different ideas we've been talking about as far as discharges into the street, and then as well as the mowing ordinance. And so I tried to add the two together in a way that address both issues under one ordinance. That way we don't have multiple ordinances we have to keep track of.
I like that idea. Makes it easier.
So this particular ordinance just requires that they keep grass or vegetation 6 inches or less. And then the other one prohibits wastewater, leaves, debris, grass clippings, things of that nature from being discharged into the city streets or town streets. So I just combined the two into one ordinance instead of having two separate ordinances. And then one we looked at previously was an ordinance from another community here in the county. So that was, I basically took the language I liked best out of that ordinance and combined it into this. I think it's more directly on point for our issues.
I would entertain a motion for public nuisance and property upkeep ordinance if you're so inclined.
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. This will be ordinance number 2020-2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you have those copies? Anything that would fall under old business before we move on?
I do. I have a couple things. The ordinance violations, we have two of those pending currently. One of them we had a court date on, but the party did not show up. We weren't able to get service on them. So Officer Ramey's in the process of trying to get service for our next court date. I had it set over for a new date in conjunction with the corner store date. And I think those are in October.
October 20th.
Right. And so the corner store is set for a proceeding supplemental. Since they haven't abated the nuisance, there's a judgment against the property in the amount of $2,500, and we can proceed on a judgment for a proceeding supplemental to see about payment on the judgment. The hope is that they will proceed to either sell the store or continue renovating the store, but it's become stagnant after they made progress about 6 months ago or so. Remains half painted, there's still scaffolding there, bricks exposed, things of that nature, and that was directly told by Officer Ramey and myself to the owners weren't at that, but they had a construction crew working on it, and that was told directly to them that was what we were looking for to be corrected, and it hasn't been. So basically this allows us to proceed on the fine judgment that the court had ordered.
There's still a block there, I believe, that prohibits pedestrian traffic on the sidewalk.
Yeah. So the intent would be that this judgment be paid now at this point. That that fine has been incurred. They've had an opportunity to cure it. That at this point, my recommendation to the board is that we make them pay the fine.
Okay.
But obviously, it's you guys give me the directions on how to go. But I'd recommend the fine be paid at this point.
This has been a long, long process for us, and I would be more inclined for leniency if we had any kind of indication that the property owner was willing to take their responsibility seriously. But I'm in favor of going ahead and proceeding.
I agree, because they could communicate with us and let us know what their intents are, what they've got complications going on, so we could work with them, and that's not been done.
Okay. Anything else under old business? New business, I was contacted by Wessler Engineering it's time for our tank inspection, and the tank is still under warranty for the painting and the waterproofing. We can use the remaining monies that are part of the Okra loan, and with that, I do have a quote from TIC, which is the company that did the initial inspection on the tank. That fee is $1,914 for them to take care of all of that, and then make sure that the tank is put in good condition if there was any issues after the inspection. The only thing we have to do is to get Ronnie Black's crew to come in and attach those pop-off or blow-off valves on hydrants in a couple of places like we did when we were erecting the tower. In that instance, the pumps would run 24/7 while we drained the tower and the inspection was taking place. I did get a hold of Ronnie Black, and he said that would roughly be in the $500 to $800 range for everything, depending on whether or not he had to take care of all the samples and run those for the samples. He thought it was probably closer in the $500 ballpark, but he gave me that range of $500 to $800 on that. We do have $1,703 left in that SRF loan. I said Okra, but it is the SRF portion of it. $1,703, the balance in that. So the tank inspection is $1,914, and with Ronnie Black's cost of $500, we would have some out-of-pocket expense. But I feel like it's prudent for us to get that inspection done and make sure that the warranty was held up.
When we go to drain that tower, what's that going to do to Bloomingdale? Because I've seen something where they're getting ready to redo their water. Is that going to be a load on their pumps to refill ours? Is that something we're going to have to let them know what we're doing?
I think we would definitely want to let them know, because we're going to be running those pumps 24/7 to keep pressure up in town. So we're going to experience a higher water usage than what we normally have been. But then we would end up using water to fill that tower. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about a 100,000 gallon tower that will have to be filled.
Right. That's a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay. Let alone, like you said, just the other pumps just going until it gets done. But I'm like you, I think it's something we need to go ahead and upkeep, otherwise we...
Yeah. That's kind of what we held that money back. Working with Wessler was on purpose so that we could complete that testing while it's still under that money, that grant money and loan money.
Well, if we knew for certain what dates this was going to be, we could start labeling, start using the water out of the tank a couple of days in advance. It'd be to our advantage.
Wessler suggested that we contact this TIC to get the actual dates and go ahead and take care of arranging that so that we can work within our schedule. So I think we can do that, and we can probably do that up through October. November might be getting questionable once we get into that month.
If we'll have 4 or 5 days to drain that, to get it down low. It
Right.
won't happen overnight.
Right.
Unless we just open hydrants.
Yeah. At some point, we will open hydrant, to get the last whatever gallons you were talking about there. But as it's going down, we're going to experience some water pressure loss in town.
Want the other fire departments notified too.
True. So I'm looking for your approval to proceed with that using the grant or the loan money and using Ronnie Black's crew to fulfill the work needed to drain that tower and maintain water.
And what we pay with Black, that money will be coming from the water, out of the water account?
Yes.
And it's okay to,
Yes.
I was thinking, Black is pretty good anyways.
medical call right out east on 350 North.
Oh,
So you both look at them thinking, wait a minute here, nobody's moving.
I can make a motion to go ahead and move forward.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Second, yes.
We have a motion and a second to go ahead and move forward with the tank inspection. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I will give the company a call and see what we can set up, and then keep, of course, you informed, and then we'll inform Bloomingdale, the fire department, and the county will need to know that we're going to be without 100,000 gallons of water over the year.
Will the fire department be able to kind of put it on a flashing sign
Yes.
when we are starting to?
That's a good idea.
Experience water, the
Yeah.
water be going down, pressure, so that way Kathy's not getting calls.
Yeah.
Oh, Kathy likes talking to people.
And we would have to then fill the tower and go through 2 testings on the water samples. So it'll take a few days. Anyone else have any new business other than you, Kathy?
I served several ordinance violations about 2 weeks ago, and I think around 10 of them, and I think all of them has been in compliance so far. I know one gentleman, I thought he was going to be here today, but he did not show up for some reason, but he had a Jeep that did not meet the ordinance because it was an off-road Jeep and he used it at the Badlands and off-road parks like that. So he didn't need to put a license plate on it without it being registered. Now it doesn't meet the town ordinance, but it is in working order and it meets everything else. Now I did have a couple other vehicles that I've talked to him about, and he's going to work on getting them out of there. But my question was, is some guidance on that vehicle that is not registered with a plate.
As far as you know, is that regularly moved?
Yes,
They use
yes.
that?
He says it runs, it drives. He's like, I can start it up and move it around for you. And
But does he take it to the
Yes,
Badlands and
yeah.
dock it? That's it. What I was wondering.
Or those have to be some kind of registration, because I thought a vehicle you had to. because you went and
If you're
sat.
going to be on the streets or things of that nature, you're required to register with the state. For off-road use, I'm not certain as to whether or not that's required or not. I can look that up though.
Just in case you run some out. Because I think if you got a Ranger or something like that, I mean, those,
Yeah, it has to be approved.
if it's road on the road, yes. But if it's on private property, then it doesn't have to. So
That's my recollection as well, but I can double check if you'd like me to.
I'm just curious. So
Yeah.
if it comes up again, then we know.
I might be able to answer that here shortly.
And I have no problem with that being used for personal enjoyment there. We don't want to cause somebody an extra burden of cost
correct.
to license that, to just take up there and run it to Badlands. So I have no problem with that. The problem I do have is the 2 or 3 other 4 vehicles
Absolutely.
that are in front of that on that property,
Yes.
and that needs to be.
And I thought he was going to be here tonight. He said he might have something come up, whatever. But I will make contact with him in the next day or two and let him know about that. I think he'll completely understand and be happy with that, and probably comply a little bit easier with the other 2.
There's a vehicle on the north end of town, we've talked about this before, that sits way back by a barn there, that is not owned by the property owner. It was abandoned and left there when they moved there. What's our option?
I can tag it, and I thought they was going to do something with it a long time ago, but no, I can tag it, and when the tow truck comes to get it, then I fill out a form that on any impound that's done, and then he can get rid of it to the junkyard after a month if nobody claims it.
Now, who pays for the tow truck?
They would have to pay it to get their vehicle back.
Yes, so if the tow truck comes and picks it up on its own and does not receive payment unless somebody comes to pick up that vehicle that was impounded. So with that form that I give him, then he can sell it to the junkyard
Right.
because of the value is so low of the vehicle, and he can recoup some of those costs.
So the landowner's not, it's not there.
Correct.
So basically, that's the only way he's gonna get his money is to
Yes.
sell it.
Could the salvage yard pick it up directly?
Now,
I don't think so. but
they might if I give them that form, but I think they still have to hold on to it also.
Okay.
So-
It's a wash then.
Yeah, pretty much, because they don't own it. Now, if the owner had the title and give it to these people, then they could call the junkyard directly. But without a title and it out being theirs,
Yeah.
And then one of his ordinances, they have been cutting trees and cleaning up the yard, and I heard through the grapevine they're possibly talking about tearing a house down.
be the one on North Main Street
Yeah.
with the hole in the roof that I talked to you about.
Yes, and I did see that we've got some,
If there's all day Sunday work.
yes.
I seen that, they were there. I didn't think the house looked like it was that bad. There's a hole.
Oh, yeah,
It's not too good a shape, because he made comment last spring that he says it's not in good shape, the foundation isn't, and so I'd say he doesn't have money put into it either, and that's maybe the best way to do it.
Right.
I also talked to the gentleman on the south end of town, and he brought in some more equipment this weekend, but I talked to him just the other day, and I actually seen some improvement, a little bit of improvement from 2 days ago till today.
Okay.
So I've told him that he's got to get motivated and get working, and I found out the pool that sits on the north end of that property is not his, it's the neighbors to the north. So I've got to stop and talk to them and let them know what's going on. Because that is a health violation with that being up,
Yes.
with the water in it.
And I think that was a bone of contention several years ago, back and forth, was who owned it and who was responsible.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we definitely need to get it disposed of.
Responsibility to lie with the property owner if we go record on it, because it's on their property.
Okay.
Which the people that live in that trailer don't own that trailer.
Correct, but they're still renters, so they're responsible for the property right now, so.
They just let you know.
Yep.
Anything else, Jim?
I don't believe so.
Tom?
Doing good?
Good.
There's Tom's water numbers you pass around and end up down to it.
Actually, I do have a question for you, Kevin.
Okay.
You said that that ditch down there,
Mm-hmm.
you did mow that?
I didn't actually mow it. When they cleaned that ditch out to allow that drainage, meaning Ronnie Black, they piled some of that dirt off to the side, and the concern of that gentleman that was here, he couldn't mow it because there was dirt piles. So I went down and took the tractor bucket and I cleaned all the dirt piles so it was able to be mowed over to probably 16, 8-inch wide ditch, and it hasn't been touched.
Okay. So you did.
And I have contacted that person that owns that property and told him what I had done and let him know that it was able to be mowed.
Okay.
His big complaint was, well, yeah, but how about down on the corner now where water's...
Well, and that's the thing, you know, you did your part, and especially what was supposedly moved from helping him out in the first place. So I think with you talking to him, we've got that new ordinance passed, which it has to go published and...
Published and then 30 days. So I'll have my office, assuming everybody's signed it, publish it in the next paper, and then 30 days from then we can enforce under it.
Okay.
Otherwise, the nuisance ordinance may be something that we could look at enforcing underneath, possibly. But this is more tailored for that situation.
Well, and that's the situation because they have mowed the yard.
Yeah.
But we've got two very tall spots where the drainage tiles broke
Yeah.
and growing up crazy, which I think that's definitely a mess in itself. But the ditch that we can definitely.
It's a safety hazard on that corner too, because you can't see around that corner.
So
Do you need
this will
this-
definitely
does he
give us
need
a
this
lot of
ordinance?
leeway in grounds after everything goes through.
He'll get a copy of the signed one that's been published.
And it's also.
Have you guys all signed one copy?
We've attempted to
We're
help
passing it
them
around,
and
yeah.
not.
And
Yes, you
Kathy
can.
assessed it, and
They ain't gonna work for him.
then I can have it published and give a copy to everybody.
I'll offer.
Not too bad for dry weather.
And now we can let you know it.
Hot and dry weather, yeah. Hot weather and cold weather, water goes up.
I saw the corner house down there is for sale now. when I was coming into town. This is right on the corner of Main
Is
Street.
that one?
Yeah, on the right-hand side.
I've heard some.
There's a sign out front now for.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I never put that one.
right at the very outskirt of town before you make the S-turns or whatever, as a for sale sign. I think that's the house where the water had been left on that one time, possibly. Or I could have my houses confused.
Yeah, you got it.
You got confused.
Okay.
We're talking about the water left on is also what's going to help us, that ordinance.
Oh, okay. Well, so this one's the one at the very end of Main Street on the right as you go out of town's for sale.
Yeah. I believe Carver's a little better.
Yeah. And we have some positive news. It looks like we are going to get some new families in town.
Yeah, I've got 2 new hookups now that's come this month. Well, 3. I've had 3 new hookups.
Great.
So that's what. So it's
You want
good.
those?
Thank you.
Sign those. Are you done?
You guys sign the 2 spots, guys?
Oh, okay.
Everybody sign the top one,
Oh,
and then everybody sign the bottom one. They each have 2 spots to sign.
Top one there?
Yeah, so you'll sign once up there, and then you'll sign down below where you actually vote on it. The top one's to vote same day, same meeting, and then the bottom one's either approving or rejecting the actual ordinance.
Just have rules and standards.
Yeah.
No.
I'll just put sign here from now on, okay?
when I what?
When you read the
So,
one.
and then you got to either approve or reject down
If
there.
it has any uses gone,
I won't.
I just like to keep you guys on
I
your
won't do
toes.
anything because they won't
Some
really have to do
do.
anything until this next month because they paid their hookup fee.
yeah, I know, but I need to know if it's got anything.
Oh, okay.
That's what I want.
Oh, okay, okay.
I have a thing concerning arch before we bring it.
Okay.
Front yard.
The
Okay.
off-road vehicle, if it's for a
Because what I was
particular
gonna-
use
whatever
and
was
limited
gonna be,
purpose,
the thing they
it
lost
doesn't
and
have to
all
be
that stuff.
registered per Indiana code.
Okay.
So, but all those other
Because I
vehicles
know
we
that you
have.
went in and had it on and everything.
Well, and I accidentally, I only put 1 tag on that because there was like 5 vehicles there. And I accidentally
And it's always
tagged the
been
vehicle
like
that had
that
the
for a
proper
while.
tags. He's like, well, what's wrong with this one? I said,
And maybe.
That's got to go, okay, she's got to
you
sign
mean
it.
it's got a 20 tag on it? Yeah, I'm like, then nothing, but the other ones are still.
Does he trailer to wherever he uses it?
Oh, I
The
do?
Jeep?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, up in Attica, they've got that off-road park with
Yeah.
all sorts
Well,
of.
they get a lot of traffic heading north every
Yeah.
time.
And we're probably too late for this week's paper since it'll be out tomorrow, or today actually. I guess so next week could be when it'll be published. And then 30 days. Yeah, now I take it back.
Give it to Tom.
So 30
Oh,
days
I'm sorry.
from next
Yeah,
Wednesday,
I wasn't-
basically.
I will try to stop down there and reason with them and explain the new ordinance that's been passed so they can get in compliance once it's published. Obviously, I can't cite them or do anything for the 30-day period, but maybe they'll,
Well, if we're talking about the ditch property,
Yeah.
I mean, we did our part.
yes, and that's what I was,
And we helped in a couple different instances there, so it's time for them to do theirs. Kathy?
Okay, my adjustments, we've had a few leaks this month, but these 2 had leak shut-offs, and the third one is a new customer on that one. So I just need you guys to approve that that's,
And the leak shut off that was repaired, or,
yes,
okay,
yes, I found out it was.
you just need initials?
Just initials that I made the adjustments, and you guys are good with it.
Water's still running across from you.
And this one, Miller had a leak.
It only runs.
And so I gave him a one-time adjustment,
Okay.
and he had UMAC in it. They found out,
Or for it to begin.
he's the house just this side
Well,
of
for it to stop.
Tyler's
It'll
house.
take a while.
That-
Right, okay, yeah, I remember.
Okay,
They were down there working.
okay. The teed off the meter, came off the
Yeah.
meter towards his house, and then it teed off and went somewhere else.
I'd like to know what's
So
changed
back in the
there.
day, I reckon there was
I would
another
like to
line
know
that was
what's
somewhere else on
changed
the property.
What
And
happened?
that
I
line
don't
had leaked.
remember what was on that property. Larry, do you remember what was on the property just this side of Tyler's house, the Burgess house? You know, it's a double wide now.
what's that, Cassie?
What was in there prior to that double wide being on
His
that lot?
daughter-in-law.
Okay.
Because they had a little bit of difference.
Like I should know
Tyler's,
where it is.
that was a,
Probably your wife's.
that was farm ground.
would be-
I was thinking it was pasture or
It was a
something.
pasture.
Yeah.
See, and that's
Okay.
the thing, most people.
Well, they had trouble tracing that water line because the meter pit's there. But as Kathy was saying,
Yeah.
According
I
to
think she's.
Mr. Miller,
Maybe
that
2 years
it
younger.
came off of the meter towards his house, and then another line went off of his
She
line,
was to work at.
somewhere else on the property, like maybe there was a barn, or there was a garage, or something back in the day. And I said, well, that would have been back whenever the water line was installed. I said, I have no way of knowing that,
Well, there was that old barn, was it a back, because that.
And I don't know which way it
the White
went, he
House,
didn't say.
Crystal Brown, that white one, because,
They're actually moving.
Louise
the
Shire.
house there on
It's
Main
Louise
Street. It's for
Van
sale,
Hops.
right in front of.
Okay.
Hobson's, yeah.
Her and her husband.
because they had all that, and that was their farm, and then she put the trailer in for her mom and dad put the modular in and sold off the house.
Oh, okay.
All those
so
ordinances.
that could have went back to a barn or something
Yeah.
then. But that's where the water
They've been
line
looking at it
leak
anyway. I
was.
think
I seen that today, I was wondering what
this
was
month.
done up there.
It was on his side of the meter. So
Yeah, it was on his side of the
the
meter. Jackson Farms had a water leak.
I'm gonna give this to
Where?
her tomorrow. and
Up close to the house.
We can.
Okay.
Ronnie
On
went
that.
and worked on that, and David Coleman had another leak, but he got
Were served. Those you-
Norman, and he supposedly it's fixed according to his wife. So, then while you're, last time you guys looked at this, I didn't get any signatures on the water.
So I went up
So I
there,
just
beat on
need
the
those
door. Nobody
signatures.
came to the door. I
That
swear
was
to God,
from
back.
June, or
But
July,
I
is that
just
July?
left it on
July.
the board,
Okay.
and I just drove by, that's been mowed.
And I got back without any signatures
Most
on it.
people, instead of going in front of a judge, will do it.
Yeah.
Because ones on the corner still are, you know. It's neither here nor there.
Well, the thing
Yeah,
is, you gotta
anyway,
tell them,
just
I didn't
check
take
that
that
one.
There's $50, you know.
So this is August water that I just got done
He
today.
was asking me about that, and he said he's going to do one on Howard Avenue. He would never even imagine. He said he can't even get in the door to take a picture. I mean, it's
The
overhead.
White House on Howard.
I don't know. He wouldn't tell me, which, but I imagine you drive down Howard Avenue and see that.
Supposedly, Paul Brown has the pending sale, so, on the Jim Hanner, but that's the brick house and the little one next to it,
Oh, somebody's gonna buy it.
supposedly.
Have you ever dealt with him? Have you ever dealt with him?
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in court with him, but.
Yeah.
Here's the towns for August.
The bad thing is he's got some knowledge, because he used to work for my office in the code enforcement division.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So he knows better.
Yes.
First thing he did was lawyer up.
So it appears to me that the balance in the town account
First thing he did was hire.
is okay, it's the water that
Filed.
we're still
Violation.
watching.
I mean, we're keeping an eye on the town because we don't have all that much revenue coming in
Yeah.
right now from, but yeah. And we're not bad on the water, I'm just kind of watching what I'm doing when I'm paying attention.
Yeah,
Judge-
we just don't need another $8,000
Right.
main replacement.
I just like, yeah, I've got that one laying there and I still have, I think it's $2,300 left to pay back to the town that we kind of borrowed to help us through to ease our, that I had borrowed. Now, I may have to have Nick help me on this. We did an additional appropriations on this year's budget for an additional $2,000 in our rainy day, and she gave me, she already put it in the paper. She took all the budget, like, took all the information. So now we just, according to her, I just need to have these signed and be approved.
They were.
So,
There's an actual fire the other day we was there.
Yeah.
It's two down from the one we had
Yeah.
yesterday.
so basically, we had gotten that, when I did my budget last year, we was only gonna have like $589 left to spend, in our rainy day fund.
Right.
Well, then we got that donation at the end of the year, which didn't know we was gonna have. And so we upped this year's budget to additional $2,000 on our rainy day. So that's what this is for, is to approve, that you guys approve that we're upping the budget for 2020, an additional $2,000.
Okay.
And basically that's because we're paying for the trees and the watering and that stuff out of there. And that still leaves us then money for, to have $4,000 in there for next year. If we don't get a donation at the end of the year, you know, if we do, then we can look and see if we need the money, then we can add it in. So, my field budget lady helped me with that when we were working on budgets.
Is the money still in there for that money that I have to buy uniforms or anything? I need to grab a couple things.
Yes,
So
you're good.
I just wanted to make sure. I know we used it for the vehicle last year, some things, but
Yeah, you're fine. And I'll just pass those around. I'll take one. I think I already have one, I didn't know it. And then this is what we are looking at proposing for our 2021 budget. That we will present on October the 6th. So with that adoption, we'll still be able to have approximately $4,000 in our rainy day for next year, $65,000 in our general, which is about what we use now. Local roads and streets, we're down to $1,637, so don't get any wild ideas next year. And motor vehicle, we do have $20,000, but we'll have our 2 payments that we'll have to pay back to First Financial, so there again. And then we've got our cumulative capital, $2,000. Public safety is $10,000. Park donations, $250. So,
Okay.
so that just kind of gives you that. And like I said, we'll vote on it for our October meeting.
But Ronnie commented this evening that he's going to take care of those bollards.
Oh,
With the way billing goes, we may not see billing until after the first of the year. Does that put us in a bad position, not drawing it out of this year's appropriation?
no, what we can do is we can just, there's a form that she said you've got that money spent, that you just take it for next year.
Okay.
I can't remember what the fancy word was.
I figured what the word was.
Encumbrance. You can encumber the
Yeah,
money.
yeah, that's what she said, right, yeah. So, and he might, I mean, last year he billed some things at the end of the year too, so, that if I hurry up and pay him. So, and then,
That's an extra.
Yes,
Yes.
I didn't need to.
And I will be out of town for that budget hearing.
I guess he.
yeah,
So I can't vote on it anyway.
so you won't, so, oh, you won't be at our meeting?
I will not be at the meeting on October 6th. Darla would do a good job.
Well, so you come back with all the information on that, right there.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, I can get it. Or you.
I'll have to let you know too, because I know in October we're planning on going down to see Trent before because he.
You have to be here on the 6th, because we have to vote this budget in.
Okay,
in
well,
November.
but Trent's getting ready, he ships
How
out.
can we do that without him?
To Korea for 9 months.
He's on the fire department, so he can't vote. So I have to have 2.
Okay,
That's why I told Larry he couldn't go on vacation in October.
If
I should be
we,
able to.
if we have to move it, how much,
I'll have to find out what
You don't want to spoil that gun thing the first day, do you?
I don't know, because it's, the adoption and the hearing was set, so.
I can make it. It's a Tuesday, so it should be.
And did you bill our water?
Did I bill your water?
For-
No, I have not sent that letter yet. I know. I knew you were going to shame me. I did do a bunch of other things though, as you can
Yes, you
see.
did. And shut-offs, I'm good to shut off now, right?
Correct.
I have about, Jason's off next Friday, week from Friday, so I think I'm going to,
hopefully they'll all be paid up and we won't have to.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You have better hopes than I do.
Well, it'd be nice.
Do I,
I would just say the governor encouraged but did not require utility companies
right.
to have some leniency. As far as water,
I've had leniency.
that's, yeah. Or
You know, if they're making an effort and handing me $20
Certainly.
or $30, that's one thing. But, and these are the same ones that you fight with on a normal basis.
Right, so, you know,
They need to know that we will work with them.
Yeah, I thought if I could send a letter out to them and say, hey, you will be shut off on what is it, the 11th or whatever, unless you have contacted us and have approved arrangements made.
so what some other communities have done is they've broken it over a 90-day period for the outstanding bill, but you have to stay current with your ongoing bill every single month, and you have to pay a third of whatever your arrearage is what some of the other communities have done, if they reach out to you and notify you. But if they don't do that, they don't respond to you, my view would be that shut them off, but.
Because I said, I put notices on their bills back in July when we thought that I
Yeah.
said, you need to be getting this, you know, caught up, or we're going to be, you know,
Right.
possibly shutting you off. And I've had a couple that,
It's not, like our unemployment rate in Parke County is like 5.7 or something. It's not like we're in a double-digit unemployment rate, you know.
well, I had a guy yesterday that he gave me $100 on his water bill, and he's been off since, what did he say, 1st of April?
Yeah.
But he's current on all of his water. But he made sure that I got that for a month in, you know, so.
Well, I would like for you to continue to do as you've always done and work with people
Right.
if they're making that effort.
Right.
And getting out of that hole that they're in.
Right. So like I said, all they gotta do is call me.
Okay.
That's all they have to do is just call and let me know, and I'll work with anybody.
Anything else?
The arch.
Oh, the arch, I'm sorry.
Toward the center of the arch on the lower part of it, there looks like a piece that's flaring up, and if that's got anything to do with turning water somewhere, it probably ought to be checked out. It just looks like it's warping up.
Okay.
It's on the south side.
Well, isn't the Marshal Firework Fund looking at doing something with the arch? Oh, no, that was, she said she's looking at Christmas decorations or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Finding somebody to do it is always a difficult task. That's skilled and can take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Nothing else, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you.